Hello, my name is Oscar Fire, and a little later than I would have liked, that's a subject for a different video, but it's finally time to review Angel Fire East, the final... I almost dropped that. The final book in the... Why is my voice cracking? I don't know. In the Word and the Void trilogy. Once again, this book is another home run. I'll start with that. This book is another home run. It's so well written, characters so believable, everything about it is great. But I have to say, on a personal note, that I definitely am the least fond of this one over the others. This is by far the darkest book. It is. There's a lot less light in the book and a lot less humor in the book. The ending isn't even like bittersweet. It's just kind of bitter, honestly. They win in the end, but the loss they suffer from it by the end is a lot. It's a lot to take in, a lot to deal with. But yeah, I at the same time, no, the book is absolutely phenomenal. I love like I was talking about in the last book, the way the characters develop. The way the characters developing feels so natural, and the way the characters change and everything feels natural and everything. It feels very. It's once again, Terry Brooks has done it again. He did it again. I guess past tense. I don't know. Where basically though, it's like we see Nest Freemark when she's 14, then we see her again when she's 19, and now we see her when she's 29. And seeing that, like, this girl's not having a very nice life, is she? Because, like, she has to give up, because of the magic inside her, the magic of Wraith, she kind of has to give up her career in, sorry, there's like a little spider web right on my camera. I think it's really funny. Well, not on it, it's next to the camera, it's right here, but I just think it's funny, because it's just, blowing on the spider didn't scare her, but pointing at it did. Oh, what is it? What are you doing, buddy? Come on. I don't know what you're doing, but it's... What the heck? Sorry, this spider's like freaking out. It's hilarious. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get so distracted by that. Just the ring light is really just made it obvious the spider was there, and I just kind of like, oh, okay. It's like a little tiny baby thing. Anyway, but where was I? But once again, the evolution though of like Nest Freemark on her journey as not even as like a hero or anything, but just as a normal American woman, in the late 20th century, just feels like such a natural thing. It feels so normal, feels so natural. She has, now of course, the magic of course is a big part of it, that's why she has to give up her career. But of course, she also is kind of finding herself in a kind of a midlife crisis scenario where, she's in this old house that her grandparents used to own, and now it's hers, and she, and she kind of feels like her life is dead ending. She had a marriage that kind of fell apart, and Terry Brooks is never entirely clear as to why it fell apart. It sounds like Nest blames herself for it, and it might be kind of partially her fault, but it's never entirely clear. And the only time you ever see her ex-husband, hear from her ex-husband, is when he's being kind of selfish. So it's never entirely clear, like, what's going on there. Maybe a little bit of missed opportunity for characterization, but it's not super important to the plot. It's not really a big deal. But in general, though, like, it's just really interesting because, like a big part of the story is just spent of, like, Nest trying to, Nest getting sucked into this extremely dangerous situation, more dangerous than the last two books probably combined. Where 4 demons are hunting down this gypsy morph, this wild magic. And meanwhile, she's trying to figure out her life simultaneously, and you can kind of feel the pressure on her. Like, you can tell how much pressure there is on her, and there's a brilliance in that kind of writing when you can actually, you can kind of step into the character's shoes and feel kind of what they're feeling in that moment. I think that's really neat, and it definitely helps to secure this series as as one of the best that Terry Brooks ever wrote, by far. But yeah, I must admit I'm not sure I'm super keen on the idea of John Ross dying. You know, I mean, he dies for a good cause, of course, and he defeats 2 demons and, you know, and injures another one on top of that to do it. But it's very, you know, and his mission ultimately succeeds, but it's, given all of his angst and issues and problems, you know, like, you know, his attraction to Josie Jackson and wanting to be free of his oath, you know, like 10 years earlier, it feels very, it mostly makes me bitter to see him end this way, where it's like he never gets to live the normal life he was looking for, you know, he ends up having to die, and, you know, it's foreshadowed at the very beginning when, you know, not the very beginning, but when John, you know, it is foreshadowed at the very beginning, actually, because the dream John has of him dying in the future foreshadows that he's still going to die now, you know, just not in the future. What? You know what I'm trying to say, though. I'm sure you do, even though you can't answer me. But it just, I don't know, it's like, it's such a costly victory, and at the end of the day, given that we know, you know, assuming that you've read anything, you know what's going to happen. You know the genesis of Shannara is next. You know, it's the next thing coming up, and it's like at the end of the day, you know, like his death wasn't in vain, but it feels a lot like a sacrifice too high. It feels the victory is a Pyrrhic victory. That's actually the best way to play it. It feels like a Pyrrhic victory, you know. You know, they succeed. Nest successfully unlocks the secret of the gypsy morph, you know, who becomes her unborn child. You know, but at the cost of almost all of her, you know, at the cost of her allies and, you know, of her closest ally, and, you know, people's hearts are gonna be broken because, you know, Josie's gonna have to find out that John Ross is dead, and you know, well, I don't know if she's gonna find out John Ross is dead or if Nest is just gonna tell her that, you know, that John just moved on like before or whatever, but, you know, it's just that I'm, as you know, I'm the sort of person who likes not necessarily happy endings, but I want my endings to be satisfying. I want my endings to feel like, you know, I want the ending to feel like all the sacrifice was worth it in the end. That if there was a great war, that all the good people that died in the war died for something. You know, if there was, you know, if there was just one small personal battle and the hero dies, that the hero died for good reason. And I don't know if I feel that at the end of this. You know, I don't know. I don't know if the victory ultimately feels worth the cost. And I mean, we know inherently it is, but it doesn't feel like it is, you know? I'm watching this little spider now. It's kind of, what is it doing? It looks confused. I don't know. What are you doing? What are you doing, bud? What are you doing? Anyway, but, yeah, no, but it's, you know, I'm not criticizing the book. I feel like the book actually, you know, for something that, for a book, you know, it's not like the conclusion lets me down or anything. At worst, I feel like maybe there could be a little more closure, especially since the last book in the trilogy. I feel like maybe there could be a little more closure in the story. You know, like I mentioned, Josie Jackson, you know, after she calls the Freemark residence and talks to John the last time, we hear nothing else from her. We don't know what happens to her. You know, I would have liked to know a little something like that. I would have liked to maybe have seen Robert Hepler one last time, you know, not over the phone, you know, trying to figure out if Ness is coming to Christmas, you know. I wish for a little more. The spider's now repelling across a very large gap. It's between the wall and my monitor. This is very fascinating. I don't know what the spider's doing. I guess since I harassed it, it feels like it's not safe anymore, so it's trying to get away. But yeah, no, I'm just like, besides being distracted by the spider, though, I do wish there was like maybe a little bit afterwards, but the story also like I mentioned, what was it? It was the Hydruda Shannara, or was the Voyage of the Jurl Shannara? I mentioned a book recently didn't have enough of an sort of an aftermath, letting you know kind of what happens a little bit. Because I feel like that's very important after weighty stories, just to kind of just to let the reader decompress a little bit. Because the conclusion of this book also feels a little hasty. Literally the climactic end is literally just the last 2 chapters. And it feels a little bit like... It just feels like, not abrupt, but it feels like too fast. It feels like there just needs to be a little bit more there. Just a tiny bit more, I kind of want to know what happened to Larry Spence, the deputy sheriff. I want to know what happened to his family, He has a bunch of kids at home. He's a divorcee and has a bunch of kids at home. What happened to his kids? I want to know what happened to his kids. I know it's not that important, but I don't know. I just feel like, a couple of paragraphs just detailing a little bit of this aftermath stuff would have just been just a nice little way to kind of decompress the reader after the weighty events of the penultimate chapter. Not even the final, but the penultimate chapter. I think that just would have been nice. But that's enough of that, because I think I've said all I wanted to say. This was a great book. It was a good way to finish the series. It was a very interesting way to finish the series. Introducing the idea of a magic like the Gypsy Morph was a very good way to kind of introduce a new challenge to our heroes that isn't just Demon Claus is coming to town. I don't know why. What? But it was a good way to introduce a new wrinkle and to also increase the challenge. That's not just another Nest Father or Stephanie Winslow situation, but an actual, elder demon, comes out of the woodwork and and presents a threat to our heroes. I think that was very smartly done, and I really enjoyed it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Obviously, there will be a follow-up video on the whole of the trilogy. And I hope to see you for that. I don't have much else to say, so thank you for watching. And I'll catch you next time. Until next time, everybody. I did it again.